We've got everyone, Chad.
Ask if we're ready to get started. I got welcome parameters, and then we will start the meeting. So just a reminder for everyone, please use the chat feature. It has a sign-in sheet. Just simply type your first and last name and which department or agency that you're representing. In order to minimize disruptions until the time designated by council for public comment, members of the public will be muted. During the time designated by the council for public comment, members of the public will no longer be muted and may participate and provide their comments by orderly speaking in the microphone in their phone or other device. All existing council rules regarding public comment and all quorum rules still apply. All votes shall be counted by roll call vote. In the event of a disconnection caused by the meeting host, the council is considered to be in recess. Every effort will be made to reestablish a publicly accessible connection. But if the host is unable to do so in a period of 30 minutes from the time of disconnection, the council will adjourn and not address any other new business until next meeting. Any decisions made prior to the disconnection will be binding. The council will not recess or adjourn due to technical or other issues experienced by individual members of the public that render them unable to attend or participate in the meeting. And Andrea, without any further ado, we'll do a call to order, a brief moment of silence, and then quorum, please. We'll take a moment of silence now. Thank you, everyone. Andrea?
We have Chad Tackett.
Present.
Ryan Bloomstrom.
Present.
Ellen Stiles.
Yes, ma'am.
Lene White.
Yes.
Terry Blackmer.
Present.
Greg Janik.
Present.
Jacob Steichen.
Present.
Eileen Pettinger.
Present.
And Kevin Zellmeyer.
Present.
We've got 9.
Thank you. Moving on to number 2, approval of agenda.
So
I'll
moved.
make a motion.
I think that was Lene and maybe Alan.
Yeah, I'll support it.
Thank you. Any further discussion, changes? Hearing none, Andrea, roll call, please.
Okay. Terry Blackmer.
Yes.
Chad Tackett.
Yes.
Ryan Bloomstrom.
Yes.
Ellen Stiles.
Yes, ma'am.
Lene White.
Yes.
Greg Janik.
Yes.
Jacob Steichen.
Yes.
Eileen Pettinger.
Yes.
Kevin Zellmeyer.
Yes.
Okay. Unanimous.
Thank you. Number 3, approval of minutes for December 4th, regular special meetings. Looking for approvals or any changes that need to be made for those.
As Chad, I'd like to make a motion. This is Greg Janik. Motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from December 4th, 2020 at 1300.
I second it.
And then support. Any further discussion? Andrea, roll call, please.
Chad Tackett.
Yes.
Ryan Bloomstrom.
Yes.
Ellen Stiles.
Yes, ma'am.
Lene White.
Yes.
Terry Blackmer.
Yes.
Greg Janik.
Yes.
Jacob Steichen.
Yes.
Eileen Pettinger.
Yes.
Kevin Zellmeyer.
Yes.
9.
Thank you. Number 4, moving on to communications. Anybody have any communications they'd like to share?
Ed, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Just to clarify, do we approve both meeting minutes or just the regular meeting minutes? First was the regular meeting. Was that one motion to approve both?
I guess, Andrew, did you have the motion? Did you write that down? Or Greg, do you remember what your motion was?
Yeah, maybe I was in error. Since they were referenced individually, I referred to the regular meeting, which that's listed first at 1:00 p.m.
Yeah.
So maybe I screwed up.
That's all right. We can go back to the second one as well, the special meeting.
Move to approve the special meeting minutes as typed.
Second.
Motion is for it. Thank you, Brian Lene, and thank you, Greg, for bringing that up. Any further discussion on the special meeting on December 4th, 2020? Hearing none. Andrea, roll call on that one, please.
Chad Tackett,
Yes.
Brian Bloomstrom,
Yes.
Alan Stiles,
Yes, ma'am.
Lene White,
Yes.
Terry Blackmer,
Yes.
Greg Janik,
Yes.
Jacob Steichen,
Yes.
Eileen Pettinger,
Yes.
Kevin Sellmeyer.
Yes.
Okay, got 9.
Thank you, everybody, for keeping me in check. Communications.
Hey, Chad, I have a communication I'd like to share.
Yes, sir.
I received a email from Ed Nettle, who is the fire chief in the Merritt Area Fire District. He is also the CTC in Missaukee County. And in his email that he sent to us on January 22nd of 2021, it was in response to some memos that we'd sent out about the mental health funding and just about encumbering funds and that type of stuff. He had some concerns that it seems like the CTC is getting more and more responsibility put on them, and that in most places, if not all places, it's an unpaid position. And he was wondering about in the future of addressing maybe an administrative fee. So that was what was in his email.
Administrative fee that the CTC will collect? I'm assuming.
Yes, that the CTC would get. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Everybody got I know it was a kind of misconjobbled letter for the instructor orientation, I believe it was, that I ended up sending to Brian via personal email, and it was forwarded out. So I could not get my state email to send it to everyone. So I assume everybody got that. I received a copy of it. So any other ones out there from our last meeting? Hearing none. Jake, you didn't have anything? You always have something for communication.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I reached out to our behavioral health unit, the CTCs that are in the area, and made sure that everybody was kind of in the loop. There was a little bit of confusion. I think a lot of the CTCs are just kind of working through the process. I was hoping that probably in the state fire marshal's report we'll kind of hit on some of the issues that they might be seeing in the bureau, but I tried to handle what I could in our little northwest corner.
And thank you. And I know it doesn't have much to do with the group, but I did get everybody's emails just recently for some of you might have to come and go as calls dictate and everything else for this one. Just an FYI, Brian, you might have to take over at 3 o'clock. I'm still kind of waiting for word on my next meeting, but just give you a heads up on that.
And then I will have to leave at 3:30. So then we flip a coin. Who's next?
Let's just
All
keep
right.
on track. You're done.
Anything else for communications?
Chad. Hey, I would like to take the opportunity. We got a couple of guests today. I just saw her screen light up. Courtney Pendleton is here today. She's a deputy director that I directly report to at License and Regulatory Affairs. And she has really been checking in all areas of the Bureau of Fire Services. She's been attending our weekly or bi-weekly meetings, the cadence that we have internally. And she was asking me about, we have the State Fire Safety Board, and of course we have the Michigan Firefighter Training Council. So Courtney is on today. And then also Brian Medalski, who is a Deputy Operations Officer at LARA, also that works as a definitely part of the team at LARA that the BFS reports to. So I would like to take an opportunity, if Courtney or Brian had anything they wanted to share with the group. Thank you for being here today, and I thank you for your support as we move forward to make the Michigan Fire Service better.
Thank you, Kevin. Good afternoon, council members. As Kevin said, my name is Courtney Pendleton. I am Deputy Director here at LARA, and on behalf of our Department Director, Orlean Hawks, I want to thank you for the work that you do for LARA, for the council, and most importantly, for all of the fantastic people that we have across our great state. We absolutely appreciate and recognize the value and commitment that you have all made through your public service on the council. I'm relatively new to the deputy director role. Started in September. I've been with LARA for a couple of years now, but new to the deputy director role. I'm still wearing that new hat. And I have responsibility for the oversight, not only of the Bureau of Fire Services, but also for the Bureau of Professional Licensing, the Bureau of Construction Codes, Corporation Security and Commercial Licensing Bureau, and also the Michigan Unarmed Combat Commission. And so now that we're into 2021, we're very excited to be focusing on our department priorities, which includes working with all of you and all of our other board and commission members across the department, along with all of our stakeholders. And we'll be looking at a lot of things that are very important for the department this year, which includes looking at ways that we could reduce barriers to licensure, extending services to our military veterans and their families, along with working our way out of COVID. We work very closely with the governor and our sister agencies like DHHS and Labor Economic Opportunity. And we really look forward to continuing the communication about testing and vaccines and eventually getting back to some sort of normalcy for all of us, especially, I don't know if anybody else has teenagers, but I would love to have some sort of normalcy as much as you could get with teenagers living in your house. So it'd be nice that they could get out and about a little bit. So we very much just look forward to our continued collaboration with all of you. I've told Kevin and the BFS staff this before. Firefighters as a whole and fire services has a very special place in my heart. I have a number of family members, past and current, that are or were fires on their own fire departments, firefighters, emergency services, and things. So I am a firm supporter of all things firefighters and all of the work that you do for all of us to keep us all safe. So again, just thank you so much for your time and your dedication to your profession, and especially to the people around our beautiful state. So with that, I will go ahead and turn it back over to Kevin so that you can continue on with your meeting. Thank you so much for having us here today.
Thank you and welcome.
Thanks, Courtney, and thank you, Brian, for coming by. And just to let everybody know, Courtney and I continue to have conversations. She definitely is very interested in what we are doing here in the fire service. And I find out it goes all the way back to visiting when her grandfather was the fire chief in Ashley, which is in Gratiot County. So, and grew up in the Ithaca area and still has friends and family on the Ithaca Fire Department. So we definitely have somebody who's knows or has an idea of what the fire service does. And we're bringing Brian along also too. Brian's from the east side of the state, although we got him over here in Lowell now on the west side of the state. And like I said, they definitely are helping us to get stuff done in the fire service. And I want to thank you for everything that you do to support us. Okay. My next item that I would like to announce, and we couldn't have done it without Courtney and Brian's help, is we've actually added to the Bureau staff, and the training coordinator position, or the region coordinator position, excuse me, that was TJ Richardson's position that had been open for quite a while. We hit the hiring freeze and those type of things, but we got that with the first of the year. The hiring freeze went off and we were able to get that position filled. I don't think I know that he's familiar to most of the folks on council, but there are a number of people that are on the meeting that I think it's important that they know that Robert Stokes has joined the ranks of the Bureau of Fire Services. And Robert is coming to us from the Detroit Fire Department. And we look forward to everything that he's already done in the first 2 weeks. I know him and Dan are spending time together, and they're definitely getting on the same page. And that was one of the things that I shared with Dan, and I wanted to make sure is that we need them both to be on the same page and to be that team that helps and guides us in the training side of the house. So I want to give a shout out and welcome to Robert to the Bureau of Fire Services, and then also to Dan Hammerberg for everything that he's doing to make this transition as smooth as he can. And Andrea plays a big part in that. So does Ann Searles, Deputy Director, and Holly Metz. And I also want to make sure that I publicly thank TJ Richardson. TJ has been a trooper. TJ, back in November of last year, we promoted him over to the storage tanks division, and yet he's continued to probably average 8 to 12 hours a week, working on certifications for the most part, and reciprocity, which in itself is a huge, there's a big undertaking there. So TJ has, worn a couple of hats. We'll get through the end of this week, and it will become the Stokes and Hammerberg show, so to speak, and that TJ will transition out of that. So if you see TJ around, and I'm sure we'll see TJ around, I know he's going to continue to do some teaching around the state and such, make sure that you say thank you to him for the work that he did while he was in the training division. I also will share that we have big things ahead for him in the storage tanks division. And I don't think it would surprise any of you that he took his training background and we took it over to storage tanks, and we're making great strides there too. So I know storage tanks is more related usually to the Fire Safety Board, but everything we do here at LARA and at Bureau of Fire Services does tie back at some point to the fire service. So thank you. Welcome aboard, Robert. And thanks for everything that everybody's been doing during this transition. The next item that I would like to talk about is the revised course summary, and that should be in your packet. One of the things that I want to look at, or want you to look at, is at the courses. So as you're coming down through, most of the courses at the top, of course, are your firefighter 1, firefighter, and so there'll be firefighter 1, firefighter, the challenge for firefighter 1, excuse me, and then the retest. So you kind of get an idea. If you go down to the firefighter 2, or 1 and 2, excuse me, which is the 25 code, you'll notice that the passing rate is pretty decent on our firefighter 1 and 2 exam right now. With that also being said, I would like you to look at what the challenge score is. So the folks that are thinking they're going to come in and challenge firefighter 1 and 2 are not doing so well. If you can see the pass rate there, or I think it's 63%, something like that. So, just kind of shows that, as we move into this transition in our new rules, right, we move towards, hey, you got to go to a fire, you got to go to class, you got to get trained, so that we can folks that are out there to meet the needs of the community. But I thought that was interesting. Also, if you move down to, if you go down to H07C as in Charlie, which is at the bottom, that is the updated fire instructor 1. And so we've moved now to 70% as the passing score, right? From 80 to 70. I think you can see the average is it's about 78% is what the average has been on the test. And so there again, there's some folks that are still, that failed a practical exam. And there's some folks that still are failing the written exam, even at 70% for instructor 1. But as a whole, I think I got to give a big shout out to our fire instructor 1 instructors around the state. And I'll tell you what, they are busy out there right now. I talked with Andrew. We had a couple of weeks where we weren't able to get into the building on Ottawa, and she was sending out tests. And I think just before that, she'd sent out like 16 final exams for Fire Instructor 1, and that was in like late January. So a lot of courses are out there. We couldn't do it without the Fire Instructor 1 instructors. And like I said, I think the instructors are doing a great job. You're seeing it in the scores, and you're also seeing it in the number of people that are passing the practicals. So keep up the good work, and thank you. The next thing that I would like to talk about, I'd like to talk about fatal fires just for a moment. And I try to keep you all in the loop as we go along. Something occurred for the first time that I've been the fire marshal, and that was in the month of January. We did not have double-digit fire fatalities in the state. So in your packet, I provide you a graph, and working with Kyle Sabota with the Fire Inspector Society, MI Prevention, Kimberly Pashkowski is doing a great job for us. And to kind of put that into perspective, the biggest role out there is most definitely in the fire departments across the state that are involved, who are actually out, boots on the ground, who are putting up the smoke alarms, who are installing the smoke alarms, even during COVID. And we're getting into the homes of those that are affected by or experiencing disabilities. Okay. So if you're looking across, this is year comparison. In 2017, I became the fire marshal in April, but in January 2017, there were 15 fire fatalities in the state. In 2018, there was 16. 2019, there was 10. 2020, last year, we had 18. So that was 18 was one of the highest months last year. For 2021, we had 7 fire fatalities statewide. If you put that in perspective to last year, that's down 60%. Now, with that being said, it's one of the things you have to look at statistics, and it's a long haul. MI Prevention's got a ton of work ahead of us, as well as we need every fire department in the state participating with us as we move forward and getting the resources. But it was good to see that. Even fatal fires were down. We had 6 fatal fires. In the previous years, the lowest in 19, we had 10. So usually those are double digit also. The thing that I want to point out, though, if you take the 7 fires in January, and that I also provide you with that, is you start to look at some of the trends that are really jumping out at these fires. The males, 86% of our fatalities, of our 7 fatalities were males. But the big thing that we're seeing is the disability victims. And if you take those 7 fatalities in the beginning of the year, 57% of them were disabled. So one of the things we continue to work with MI Prevention, there's some videos that will be coming out here shortly. We continue to, Kimberly is making contacts all around the state. And I want to give an example of that. And I don't know if we have anybody from West Bloomfield on today, but Dave, who's the fire marshal in West Bloomfield, or I shouldn't say he's a fire marshal, he's one of the fire inspectors, but also involved with us at MI Prevention. He reached out to Kimberly last week. He had a family that was experiencing hearing loss. Stan Barnes, one of the things we're trying to do is we have an advocate. So Stan with Farmington Hills, just to show how this spider web kind of works in a sense. So Kimberly reaches out to Stan Barnes, who's the regional person in that area. He reaches across over to West Bloomfield, talks to Dave. They actually get the bed shaker alarms, and they get the alarms installed over at the residence of these folks who have been deaf for their whole life and have never had a bed shaker device to alert them if they were to have a fire. And then the most interesting part then is to see, and these are always good emails that you want to see. It's coming back, and it's actually it's coming back to Ann Searles, the deputy director, coming back through Laura, and they're sharing with us that this woman is actually in a phone call is in tears, just that she can't believe the way the fire service has stepped up and made this happen for her. So I just want to give you an example of those are some of the things that we're doing out there, how we're getting access to some of the specialized equipment. Nest is stepping up, and we're doing some things with them. And the interesting thing about the Nest is that they're now owned by Google, and it ties it all together. And statistically, we can even be pulling data coming back off of those. So a lot of exciting stuff that potentially comes out of that. But I also want to share that in the month of January of our fatal fires, none of them involved cooking. And, cooking is usually number 2 or number 3. And it was for the month of January, it was either smoking or heating equipment. And we've seen that going into February. We've had 3 fire fatalities in January. And I'm pretty sure, I know 2 out of the 3 that we've had in January also involve those experiencing disabilities. So we're going to keep pushing forward on that. We're going to keep pushing that information out to you at the fire station level. For the chiefs that are on the calls, if you aren't involved in MI prevention, please do get involved. We are putting out daily on MI prevention on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, a whole different array of social media, a message that's coming out even twice a day. And I also want everybody to remember, and hey, everyone in here could definitely be affected by this just by the nature of what we do. It is National Burn Prevention Week. And I know that, there's some amongst the ranks of us that have been burned in the past and such, but there's some safety tips out there on how we reduce the number of burns. And that's an area that we're also going to concentrate as we move forward. So any questions on that? I just kind of wanted to give you an overview of what's going on in the state with MI prevention and how that kind of ties into the grand scheme of things. And many of you, even that are involved in council, are on the MI prevention. Eileen's a section chief. And we kind of are trying to use the hierarchy of NIMS. And, that's the whole idea of even having people out in areas like Stan Barnes taking on a role in Metro Detroit. And we've got advocates that are all over the state. And we're trying to get every county taken care of so that we have a direct response to the disability network. There are 15 disability networks in the state of Michigan. We've got a great thing started up, and we're going to continue to grow it in 2021. And Greg Janik has been very involved in MI prevention. Lene, it's great to see the crossover that so many of you are involved in other groups and organizations around the state, but we're definitely coming together here for a common cause, and that's to reduce fire fatalities. So thank you very much. All right, the next thing I have, if there's no questions there, I want to give you an update on the behavioral health and mental health courses. As you see on the agenda today, there's a few more courses that will get approved. What those courses will be, if the motions pass today, will be entered into the Q course catalog and they qualify. We have sent the money to the districts that we've heard back from. I will share this: of the 27 districts that were established by all of you, and the map has been provided a couple of times as memos have gone out. We have still 5 districts that we have not heard back from. And some of them, it's not that we haven't heard back from them. They're still trying to figure out what they want to do in district, but they haven't reached back out to us, if that makes sense. So we have reached out to them to kind of ask them what they're doing. They're still putting together some things. And Jake, I think, hit on something that we definitely need to talk about is that, you take the region that Jake's in up there, kind of that northwest corner of the lower, and you got 5 counties up there. And what we asked them in a memo that I know it was forwarded to all of you, we sent out a memo is saying, hey, we really want to just have one fiduciary. And it doesn't have to be the Grand Traverse. It could be the Benzie County. It could be the Lebanon. It could be any of the 5, but just tell us who it's going to be. And then that money gets dispersed. And I think there's a little bit of confusion that they think that we give the money to that region with 5 counties and they got to split it up 5 ways. What we're really looking for them to do is, this is a way to get some of that regional collaboration, right? Is to get the 5 counties in, let's say, Jake's area to say, hey, what could we do with this money? And, we're awarding over $5,000 this first round. So, that hopefully gives people some traction. Now, the question comes up, and some of the people ask from time to time, well, could I distribute and give every county 5 or give every county 1,000? Yes, you could, but think about it. Some of these classes cost more than 1,000 to put on, and we would hope that, there would be some kind of cross-pollination here of, hey, we're going to do this class or do that class. But that money does have to be encumbered, okay? So that the mental health and our behavioral and mental health money that we're giving out has to be encumbered by the 15th of March. They just have to let us know what classes are you going to spend it on. For the counties that encumber some of it or don't encumber any of it, again, we'll pull it back in because we want to distribute it to the counties that are actually, or I should say the districts that are going to participate. So like I said, we still have 5 that we don't know who is the CTC who will accept the money. And we need to know that before we can accept that. We want to send out that money. So we'll follow up on that. That came out in a staff meeting yesterday. I knew I'd brief you on it today. And we are definitely following up on it, but I wanted to let you know kind of where we're at on that. Any questions on that? Cool. Okay. The other part that we want to talk about is the expo funding. So if you you remember back at the last meeting, the expo was canceled. The joint council decided by a vote, all the fire service organizations, that this wasn't the year to do it with COVID and such. And so the 80,000 that we had pulled out to dedicate to that event needed to be redispersed. And it got redispersed to the 26 counties to get more than the 17.5. So just for folks, if you haven't been to a lot of these meetings, every county in the state gets $17,500. It comes out to about 1.3 million. There's 2.3 million. That extra, actually it's closer to about 950,000 gets redistributed, but it only goes to those 26 counties. So that was a question that came out when that memo went out was, hey, wait a minute, why didn't you divide it by 83? Because everybody else, some counties would have gotten some extra money. That 80 was really money that was taken away back on October 1st. Council decided to dedicate it towards Expo. Expo didn't happen. And so it made it easy for that money to go back. And when I say made it easy, you remember the motion that was made last year was we would take out the 80, dedicate it to a statewide fire expo. But if we took in 80,000 coming back the other way and unencumbered funds on January 1, that we would pay that to those 26 counties. That was in the original motion. So because we got the original 80 back, we didn't have to do that, which then meant that we have about 160,000 in the mental health, which is the return funds to distribute. At distributing 5,000 per county, we're distributing about $142K. Remember, we're going to distribute when we get in $27,000 increments because there's 27 districts. So that's why we are distributing what we're distributing today. If we get more money in or we continue to get money in, then we'll actually make another disbursement to counties as they go along. Any questions on the funds going back to the counties from? All right, keep moving here. So the next thing that I wanted to cover is the draft of the Firefighter Training Council rules. So, we've been working through the process. We've shared at the last meeting that, that it's in at OPA, which is within our process. It needed to work through the MORE process, which is another step internally at LARA as it's working its way up, heading towards JCAR. We did complete the regulatory impact statement, or the RIS. So if you go out on the website and you go to the Training Council page, there is a whole graph that's been out there all along through the rules. It's the yellow card. It shows you where we're at in the steps. So we completed the RIS and the cost benefit analysis, and it's been approved. So our next step is to schedule the public hearing. There's a few things we need to do before we can schedule the public hearing. It has to be put into the Michigan registrar. We've submitted that paperwork. Our hope is that it goes in and they only post twice a month, that it would be posted on March 1st. So tentatively, and I don't have an exact date, but we have all of the steps in a row. I see Andrea nodding because Andrea's played a big part in getting this here. Thank you. Working with Liz, who helped us as we worked through the rules process, right? So if everything goes right, we will have a public hearing the third week of March. And as soon as we know that registrar, we have to have it in to the agenda, and it's in for April 15th. Once we know that it's on there, April 15th, February 15th, which is coming up, then March 1st is when it would actually post, and then we would schedule that hearing. So we're shooting for that third week in March, and the hearing will be done virtually. So everybody has to come to Lansing. We'll be able to do that. And remember, when we do the public hearing, and we'll get information out as it goes. And as we move along in these steps, we'll continue to share with council, but also to share with the fire service of the date of when that hearing is. There will be a court reporter, and that's where all of the information is put in, where people have the ability to testify either for or against the rules. Does anybody have any questions on that? I think if you're looking, this like moves us down that chart. Once we get that public hearing, after the public hearing is we can get it moved on further into the JCAR, actually get into the JCAR process. So this is definitely, you think about this, we started working on this in February of 2018 at the Delta Township Fire Department. If you remember that, Tim James was the chair. The law had gone into effect on December 30th, and Tim James says, let's get after it, right? And I think we had about 80 people that day at Delta Township. And I know 43 meetings with all of you involved later, with it going into the process. So we're getting closer, folks. Any questions on that? Okay. Tonight, Dan Hammerberg and Robert and I will be doing we will be leading a Fire Officer 1 and Fire Officer 2 train the trainer with 20 more instructors. If you're keeping score, that will be our 12th that we've done since October. And we're averaging about 18 per. So, we're well over 200 instructors. You're seeing out on the Wednesdays when we post the classes that there are the new company officer 1 and 2 courses, both virtually and in person, using social distancing and such, or a hybrid that are posted that are going on out there across the state. So we're well on our way with that. So that's a good thing. And I won't get into too much on Fire Officer 3 because I have that on the agenda for new business, and I'll bring you all up to speed on that when we make that transition. I do want to point out that this Wednesday, tomorrow, we have a Wednesday wrap-up at 4 p.m. and we have a Wednesday wrap-up tomorrow at 7 p.m. So remember, we're starting to do a monthly nighttime one, and we usually tie it to the first one. So February 10th, 4 in the afternoon. If you're used to 4 o'clock, we'll definitely be there. If you're looking for it doesn't work with your schedule, you're busy getting out of work, or you were at work and you're getting home, we're really trying to push this across the state to get more of the firefighters and all 1,114 fire departments involved. Is 7 p.m. tomorrow night, Wednesday wrap up. There's also another one on February 24th. So we've got a whole schedule out there. Holly, I'm sure will probably attach it even in the notes so that you have a cadence so you can see when we're doing these. And we thank you for your participation. And everything that I've been hearing from a lot of folks is that they really like what's going on, and we need to keep doing it. So we're going to keep the cadence up every 2 weeks, Wednesday wrap up. The other thing that I'd like to bring to your attention is on Friday, February 19th, which is a week from this Friday. It's Friday with MI Prevention. We did youth fire setting the month before that. And we've been trying to have a topic. We limit it to an hour. It's hosted by the fire marshal. It's general, hey, we're going to sit down and talk with some folks. We're going to be talking with some folks from the National Fallen Firefighter Foundation. Rick Best, who's out of the Columbus, Ohio area, who actually runs the advocacy program for the Fallen Firefighter Foundation, will be on the call. We also will have Ben West, who's out of Tennessee, who is kind of Rick's backup. He'll be on there to talk about what's going on. Kind of almost coming at it from a younger perspective. Ben's been in the fire service for a while, but he's definitely the next role of, we're going to take on the next role of leadership in the National Fallen Firefighter Foundation. And then we're also going to have Mr. Anderson, and I'm drawing blank on his first name, Michael Anderson, excuse me, from just outside of Austin, Texas, Pflugerville to be exact, in Travis County. He'll be on, and they're going to give an overview of what's going on with the National Fallen Firefighter Foundation with the Everyone Goes Home component of the National Fallen Firefighter Foundation. So I look forward to doing that a week from Friday with everybody. And that is what I have for my report. Thank you for the opportunity to share it with you. And the Bureau of Fire Services staff continues to do amazing things, and we continue to roll things out. And I look forward to, in a few minutes, talking Fire Officer 3 with you and how close we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. A lot of info. Robert, congrats on the position. Welcome to the Bureau. And my apologies as well. So a lot of hard work ahead of you. Moving on to old business. I think we only have one thing on there. Brian, updated course codes, driver's training.
Yes, in the last 60 days, the course was finalized by McNeil. They are now working on the student manual. So as for one big package going forward, I'll have to just leave this here again till March, or until April's meeting when that book comes out. So both can be presented as part of the update to the driver's training program. Already working on updating the test with the date purchase as well. We're working on some questions to bring forward to make sure that both curriculums have updated questions and that they meet both courses. So hopefully I'm hoping to wrap this up in the next 60 days. I just spoke with McNeil today, and like I said, they're trying to get that student book done and out, so it's one big package. So if we can leave this here under old business for one more time, that'd be great. I think you're on mute.
I am. Thank you, Brian. New business. Letter A, proposed 2021 meeting schedule. I believe we were supposed to do this on our last meeting, but it was kind of an oversight. So we'll try to take care of it today. Kevin? You're on mute as well.
Me on mute for a second. You think with months and months of Zooming, we'd have this all down. So what we want to do is we put together a schedule. You should have it in your packet. We're proposing those dates. It really doesn't move off of what we've done in the past, where it ends up being the second Tuesday in April, the second Tuesday in June, the second Tuesday in August, the second Tuesday in August. Although in August, I think we made sure to stay away from Fire Prevention Week, because I know that that's something that council asked for last year. So we did that this year on the schedule. And then of course we also look forward to, as Courtney shared earlier, that maybe we get beyond COVID here, right? And we can be in Traverse City for an instructors conference. So that would be the first Friday in December. So that would be a change in the month of December. So we're looking for approval to have council make a motion to approve the schedule, and we'll get that posted.
I make a motion to approve the schedule.
A motion?
Second by Steichen.
Jacob, thank you, sir. Any further changes, discussions? Hearing none. Andrea, please.
All right, Chad Tackett,
Yes.
Brian Bloomstrom,
Yes.
Ellen Stiles,
Yes, ma'am.
Lene White,
Yes.
Terry Blackmer,
Yes.
Greg Janik,
Yes.
Jacob Steichen,
Yes.
Eileen Pettinger,
Yes.
and Kevin Sellmeyer.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we got 9.
Thank you, ma'am. And Kevin, don't go too far. Fire Expo 2022 for fiscal year 2022 funding.
Okay. So what I'd like to do is when the vote was taken by Joint Council to cancel what would be the 2021 Expo, right away, Sean Abbey, and I see he's on the call today. I would like to, if you'll recognize him here in a second, I'd like him to talk a little bit. But what I really want to come back with is I really think that what the fire service did was to even put forth the idea that we would, have the 21 Expo and the $80,000. I really would ask that council really considers that again. At least we need to try it, right? And if you had looked at that agenda, Kimberly Pashkowski working on behalf of the Joint Council and Sean Abbey and working with Linda Stone with the chiefs and really with all the fire organizations giving input, that was going to be quite probably one of the biggest conferences in the state of Michigan with the amount of talent that we're bringing in. I know Sean, I'll let him speak to it, but he'd like to take another swing at that. And that's what we're really here today, is to inform council of what Joint Council would like to do and hopefully support them in that endeavor. So, Mr. Chair, if you're good with that, I'd like to have Sean Abbey speak.
Absolutely. Sean, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody on the council. I appreciate your time. Thanks for allowing me to speak. My name is Sean Abbey. I chair the Michigan Joint Fire Service Council. And I just come before you again today, like I did last fall. I'm going to be really short because I think we spent a lot of time on it in the fall, but it's basically we'd like to try and do the same thing next year. Obviously, with COVID and everything going on, we all felt that we couldn't put a really good product out. We felt if we did something virtual, there's so much virtual stuff going on right now. People are zoomed out. And there's lots of opportunities already out there that we don't need to pay for our firefighters to be able to attend for free or on their own. A lot of people have stuff out there online already. So we felt the best thing would be to delay this. The best use of our money and your money and the state's money is to just delay it and give it back to the counties. So I do think would be a great thing. The nice thing about it, it's like being at the firehouse, right? We just had a structure fire come in. We throw all our stuff on. We're ready to go, and it's a false alarm. Kind of same thing with this. We got everything ready. We had a good plan in place. We were going down that path. So we got our ducks in the row. We know who can do what, and we can really come back for 2022 and put on, like the fire marshal explained, probably one of the best conferences we've been able to do here in the state of Michigan for all the fire service. And that's really our goal, is to provide something that every department can send somebody to and afford to send it right here in the state, and provide a FDIC type or iChiefs type conference right here in Michigan. So I would hope that you would consider doing the same thing next year with that $80,000 and giving us another chance. So thank you for your time, everybody.
Thank you, Sean.
Chad,
Greg? Yes, sir.
what was the amount? 81,000?
81, that's, I believe, what I heard.
No, it's 80,000.
80,000.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to fund the Fire Expo 2022 for $80,000.
I'll second, Janik.
A motion and support on the floor. Further discussion, questions?
Do we need to add in the addendum from last year that the first 80,000 of returned money from the counties then goes back to the counties that did not receive the 80,000 on the first disbursement, like we did last year?
We can make that determination. I was assuming everything was going to be the same as what it was previous years, but we can make that clarification if we need to. Eileen has the motion though.
Sure, I'd like to make that addendum so it would, follow the model from last year to the motion.
Second, Janik.
Okay, still support, Greg. Thank you. Motion support. Any further discussion?
I just want to say thank you to all the organizations. I know everyone worked so hard on that, and I know it was frustrating that we weren't able to do it. And I just want to say, I think my fellow council members can agree. We just want to thank all of you for all of your hard work. We hope to see you next year for it, for sure.
All right, anything further? Andrea, roll call, please.
Okay. Chad Tackett,
Yes.
Brian Bloomstrom,
Yes.
Alan Stiles,
Yes.
Lene White,
Yes.
Terry Blackmer, Greg Janik. You're on mute.
There we go. Yes.
And Jacob Steichen,
Yes.
Eileen Pettinger,
Yes.
Kevin Sellmeyer.
Yes.
Okay, we got 8.
Thank you. I tell you, this new technology is killing all of us. I would like to say too, looking at the chat, and there was like 20 some chats, but we have 75 participants. So if you have not done so already, please in the chat feature, type your first and last name and what department you're representing, just so Andrea can do a good roll call, please. Still on new business. C, Fire Officer 3 pilot. Kevin, you're up.
Okay, thank you, Chad. One of the things that I shared with you at the last council meeting is that staff, we were beginning to work on Fire Officer 3. My goal was to have something to roll out March 1st. I think we're finding we're a little bit further away from March 1st, but when I say that, we're not that far away from it. And the reason I share that is as we've dug in and we started to look at the JPRs that are involved with, with what is needed for Fire Officer 3, it's been very apparent to us that we need to look at having to get the consistency that we're going to need around the state. We need to look at, there again, using that JB learning platform. But further, we need to look at how do we put together the information. So one of the things that is jumping out to us is that I think we have a lot of talent in the state of Michigan. I know that we have a lot of talent. And when you look at the 11 chapters that are in the Chief Officer book for Fire Officer 3, there is, certain things that we almost need some TED Talk type videos to fill in the blanks. So give you an example. On the Chapter 8, Strategic Planning, it talks about ISO, and it talks about how do you change your ISO rating and how important is ISO. And ISO is very important to all of us here, right? And so whether you're in the smallest department or the biggest department in the state, ISO is definitely part of your world. So, we thought to have some videos where there would be some folks talking about how they increase or decrease their ISO rating, right? The idea is to make your number go lower, which then translates to how well you're delivering a service, and then ultimately back to potentially the customers who live in your community with lower insurance, okay? So we want to do these videos, and what I would like to do is I would like to, to put together a motion. And in that motion, I would like to ask that we are able to film the videos that we need. There'll be more TED Talk style. It's not going to be, we're trying to teach anything in the video. We're trying to put these videos together to supplement. We also will, at the time that we put the videos together, we will reach out to the fire service and say, hey, these are the topics. This is what we need somebody to talk about. And if anybody who's even on this call today or even in the future wants to reach out at that point and say, hey, I want to talk about community relations, or I want to talk about the perspective coming from a smaller department, maybe Chief Stiles wants to, or speak on that topic. What we do then is we kind of want to have a very diverse, from large to small departments to across genders in the fire service, but actually have that information that would be out there, and it would be uploaded onto the JV platform. We've already checked with them. It's easy. It's pretty easy to do once we get the videos. But what I really need is, before I can spend any funding from the fireworks safety fees fund, and we're looking at really that money has come back in the past, right? And so it would be that that we could actually use funds so that we can actually get that video work done, so that we can supplement this on JB and have consistency. This is one of the things that our staff, and we've been talking to others in the fire service too, is that they're sharing that, I might be really strong to speak about this topic, but I really don't know that much about that topic and that topic and that topic. Well, the reality is that these TED Talk type videos would tie together that part, which would take the virtual side of it, and it would actually then bring it back into so it would bring it back to how do you tie it all together so learning does occur? Because at the end, the students are going to have to produce a final project. And I also have an idea. I actually have 3 things that I really need motions from today, or I'd like these motions to be proposed so that we can get this built out, so that we can turn and in turn get it out to the fire service. So the first motion that I would be looking for is to have to do these videos that actually would involve using fireworks safety fee funds to fund those videos.
I support the endeavor and the format that you've proposed, and I'll make that first motion. I'll make a motion to approve the Bureau of Fire Service to develop the Michigan Firefighter Training Council NFPA 1021 Fire Officer 3 curriculum, which will include the use of fireworks safety fees to cover the production costs for recording subject matter expert videos to enhance the Jones and Bartlett learning platform.
Second.
Motion and support. Thank you. And thank you, Jacob, for writing that motion out and reading it to us beforehand. Motion and support. Any further discussion, questions?
Yeah, for Chairman Tackett, just for those that are in attendance, we were briefed in entirety on this, the plan and the proposal going forward for the platform. And also, I was part of the pilot program for Fire Officer 1, and I believe in that being the future for these courses, and I think that it's going to be a great addition for all firefighters in the state.
And I should clarify, I don't know, Kevin, maybe you did say it, but the videos would be our local people, Michigan.
Yeah, they'd be Michigan people, absolutely. And they would, and they would be to, one of the things is we're looking at the different chapters of, what are some key points that are in the chapter that, this way, somebody maybe who's outstate that doesn't necessarily get to do a lot of budgeting, but maybe having some people sharing some of the things they've learned from budgeting, sometimes the hard way, right? And how do you move forward and how do you do some of the things? Even in the book, it speaks to like how do you build a fire station and what are all the steps that go with that. And so we would expect we'd have somebody talking about actually going through the process of building a fire station. And it's not just, hey, put a building over there or do this, right? There's a process to get to there. So those would be some ideas of what you're going to see in this video that supports this curriculum.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, Andrea, please.
All right, Chad Tackett,
Yes.
Brian Bloomstrom,
Yes.
Alan Stiles,
Yes, ma'am.
Lene White,
Yes.
Terry Blackmer,
Yes.
there you are, Greg Janik,
Yes.
Jacob Steichen,
Yes.
Eileen Pettinger,
Yes.
Kevin Zellmeyer.
I'm going to abstain.
All right, we've got 8 yeses and 1 abstention.
All right, so Chad, the next part, now that we know that we're going to build out the curriculum and we're going to do the videos and we're going to take it from there. One of the things that's really jumping out to staff is that the number of JPRs, and it's not as cut and dry as, let's say, Fire Officer 1 and 2, where you write a memo and you address this issue, or you do an accident report and you address this issue, or you do a report of a near miss and you get a chance to share that. Or so one of the things that we were looking at was to actually come out with, it would be a final project. It would all tie together. And in this project, we would have there would be a rubric and there would be criteria that your final project would have to meet. For those of you that have been in the NFA or involved in the Executive Fire Officer Program, it's very similar to that. You would submit a paper. I also share this. We're not looking at a paper that's probably the size of the length of an NFA paper, but it's going to require some work and it's going to require building off of that to go through to get to where we need to get. Okay. With that also being said, one of the things that we started to look at was the project kind of builds throughout the whole process. So whether you're at an RTC at a college or you're doing it in a county run class or municipality ran class throughout the state, you actually would be building off of itself, and you would have an instructor who would be facilitating it. But at the end of the day, I'm looking at if Brian is the instructor of record, we got to have somebody to validate that the work got done, okay? That the JPRs got met. So I'll give you an example. One of the things that we were looking at is that I think what we really need to do is we need to have some training coordinators. And I know when you think about training coordinators, you think about the people who show up at a firefighter 1 and 2 test. And I want to share this. Our training coordinators are doing a great job across the state, proctoring fire instructor 1 exams and doing firefighter 1 and 2. But as we move into this arena now to do this fire officer 3, they're pretty busy doing that stuff day to day or county to county. And we also have identified that you're probably going to need a certain amount of skill set to look at these projects that are coming in. And realize this too, that at the NFPA 1021 Fire Officer 3 level, this isn't write a paper or write a letter or ask to buy a refrigerator. This is, hey, I need to build a fire station. to put it in that big of a context. And what's the strategic plan for the next 5 years for this department? And what's the strategic plan for, we're going to have to hire people for the first time and different things, or we need to acquire apparatus and those type of things. So what we're looking to do, or what I would like to propose, is a motion that would allow us to hire, or first we'd have to screen, and the screening would actually be done using a weighted system using numbers. And so folks who wanted to do this would apply. They would have a form that they would fill out. There would be, there would be credit given for their knowledge that they have, the skills that they have, right? And then also, have they been in a position, do they have rank within the department even? I think when you get to Fire Officer 3, for the most part, this is stuff that typically is being done by chiefs, or a discussion we had amongst staff and stuff. In some cases, your organization might be, there's a chief and everybody's a lieutenant. So the work is dispersed amongst the different lieutenants, if you want to say, or the projects and stuff. So then those folks would definitely have knowledge and skills that they bring forward. So what we were looking to do is to have a process where, and it also would be very transparent, in the sense that, if somebody had a master's degree, they might get a set amount of points. If they have a bachelor's degree, points. If they have total seniority years in the fire services, there's some points involved. They minimally would have to have taken Fire Officer 1, 2, and 3. They minimally would have to be an Instructor 1. There's some things, those would be the minimum requirements, but then there would be, the other part would come off the points. An instructor would know when they turn in their application whether they had the right certifications and they had enough points. So it's not like you're sending it in and you're wondering how they're going. It's you provide documentation to prove the points. Anybody who's been accredited as a fire officer, or a fire marshal, or a fire chief, okay? If you've gone through the SIPC credentialing process, it would be very similar to that. So if Kevin Selmeyer was short 5 points, he doesn't qualify this time around, he might say, well, if I went and took Instructor 2, I could get points for that, and then I would have the points I need, and then he could get involved in that. What would these folks be doing? They would be contract coordinators for the state of Michigan, which means that they would be under contract year to year, very similar to our training coordinators, but they would be subject matter experts in looking at these projects. And I also know that some dialogue, or some of the questions that some folks have asked me as I've talked to other people is, well, could somebody be an instructor and be a subject matter expert? And I believe the answer is yes. However, you can't be the instructor and the subject matter expert for your own class. So if Liam Carroll, I see him on the screen, if he's the course manager, but he's also a subject matter expert, he had applied for that. And, Brian Bloomstra is in his class, he would send it to Jake Steichen, who is an evaluator. So the motion I would like to see is to put in process how we get the training coordinators, if you want to say, hired under contract, so that we'd have the vetting process to look at this project that they're going to turn in. And like I said, the rubric will be very clear. And to give you an example, there's 5 criteria within it, and they have to get 3s on all of them. You can get a 5 in some areas, so you could get a higher score, but you minimally have to meet a 3. So I'll give you an example. One of the criteria is graphics. So I don't know, I put together my project and I don't put any graphs in it at all. I just didn't put it in there. I'd say it's in the data. And it goes to Brian Bloomstra, who's a subject matter expert. He's going to kick it back to me and go, hey, Selmeyer, right now I'm giving you a 1 on your graphics. Like you don't have any. So the only thing I have to fix in my report or my final project is that once I fix that and I get it up to the 3 level, the minimal meeting, then Brian would then sign off on my program. So these subject matter expert training coordinators would actually evaluate the projects independent from the instructor that taught the course. And then I actually would, on passing of the project, would send a letter to the student telling them they now can take the certification exam. Very similar to what we do in Fire Officer 1 and 2, where the instructor reads the all the JPRs and gives credit to the students. This actually takes it from the instructor. The instructor facilitates the course. The project gets turned in at the end. It goes to a assigned person. And if it's a class of 20, I don't know, there might be 2 or 3 that the students get, put between, so we can get a pretty quick turnaround. So people are looking at these projects, because everybody knows as a student, you're going to want to know what your outcome is, right? So that's where I would like to go next, if we can, please.
I'd like to make a motion. You're on mute.
Sorry, I thought I unmuted myself. Absolutely. Go ahead, please.
Okay. To approve the Bureau of Fire Service to develop the application process for the selection of Fire Officer 3 subject matter experts to serve as BFS contract training coordinators funded by fireworks safety fees. The Fire Officer 3 SMEs will be trained to evaluate the student's final project to ensure the minimal NFPA Fire Officer 3 job performance requirements, JPRs, that they've been met prior to the student getting approval to take the Michigan Firefighters Training Council NFPA 1021 Fire Officer 3 certification exam.
Second.
I'll second.
I think Brian got that one. I don't know who was seconded, but
He did.
motion to support. Eileen, thank you again for planning out ahead of time.
We had those meetings last week, so
Yeah.
I time to write it.
Motion to support. Any further discussion, questions, clarifications?
Hey, Chad, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I guess for the fire marshal. So what we're looking at really, just so I'm clear, is choosing instructors based off of qualifications for this course. Because I know the question is going to come up, do you expect to do something similar for other courses? Or because we kind of went away from the train-the-trainer idea, and we did the instructor 1 model, which allowed people to teach all kinds of classes. Do you expect with some of these advanced courses, maybe to have different qualifications for instructors instead of a blanket, you can kind of teach whatever you take type thing?
Yeah, Terry, that's a good question. So, if you go back to the rule set that's in, right? We actually, as council, changed it. We said that you had to be a fire officer, or excuse me, a fire instructor 2 after the rules go into effect to teach everybody. But up to this point, if you're a fire instructor 1 in the state and you've taken the course, then you can teach it. Now, nobody will have taken this course because this is a brand new course, right? So we're going to have to do a train the trainer. One of the things that also speaks to in the rule set, though, it says you can teach any course you've taken as a fire instructor 2 when the new rules go into effect, okay? However, unless there's a train the trainer. So yes, that's why in this motion, we make reference to a train the trainer, so that you have to have a certain amount of experience. You have to have a certain amount of credentials. You have to have a certain amount of job knowledge. You have to have the ability to do some of the skills that are actually being taught in this program. So yes, Terry, this would be, the stuff that's coming out of the NFA, the firefighter 1 and 2, that type of stuff, you've taken it. The rules clearly address that. That stays the same. But as we get into Fire Officer 3, and as we really do a deep dive into this, I think for 3 and 4, you got to have, not everybody can teach that.
I don't necessarily disagree. I look at some of these classes as needing special qualifications, just like some of our tech rescue things or anything else. It's not a one size fits all when it comes to being able to teach. I just wanted to clarify that because I'm sure that I'll get that question. Thank you.
And Terry, just to kind of piggyback off of that also, in talking with some of the RTCs, academically, when you start looking at, like fire science programs, I'm not talking about the fire academy, but you get into accredited, college, there are certain criteria that you have to have in order to teach these courses. And when you really get into the Fire Officer 3 and Fire Officer 4, it's more project based. It's more you proving that you can do some of these things and at the bigger scale. So, it's becoming very clear that it's not just one size fits all and everybody can teach, especially at that level.
That's all I had, Chad. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. I had the same question earlier. I kind of alluded, not in this meeting, but before, when we were discussing it, and I was going down that road, same road as well.
Chairman,
Does that answer the question, Chad and Terry?
I think so. It's limiting. It's not that I'm against it. I just know it's limiting. I brought that up, I think, when we was talking to you, Kevin.
Yep.
I'm trying to view it as something along the lines of like a driver's training, almost like a third party. That's the way I'm trying to view this. I just don't want it to limit the smaller fish out there. So that was my biggest concern. Jacob, I think you had something as well.
Yeah, just to kind of give some clarity for your comment and Terry's. I plan on making a third motion, under the same topic after this is voted upon. That's gonna deal with the trainer type issues.
Kevin?
Yes. So
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I get the motion has been made. So unless you all have further questions, and this is for the training coordinators, the subject matter expert training coordinators that would evaluate projects and be contract employees with the state of Michigan through the Bureau of Fire Services, and it's an annual contract. So, the part of when we say limiting, it'll be very clear to somebody once they go see it and they go down through it if they're short on something. In some cases, it's probably taking another course or it's finishing something, and then they're eligible. So it isn't, you can never be eligible. We're setting the, if you want to say, this is a criteria that you have to be initially in order to evaluate these projects. And it's a checks and balance to ensure that the minimum JPRs are being met on all projects prior to somebody being able to take that exam.
I don't know who developed the rubric, but I do know that they took the full course in NFA. So
yeah, it is. Chad, I've reached out to some folks that have been through the Executive Fire Officer program, because really, if you look at that, that is really Fire Officer 3 and Fire Officer 4 level work, right?
Yes.
I mean, I've heard that argument in a lot of places, but just to give you an idea, when we talk about looking at these subject matter experts and such, we are going to take into consideration people who have finished the EMU Staff and Command School, people who have finished the NFA Executive Fire Officer program. So, but that isn't the only way. There are a lot of folks that are very educated that have gotten that by achieving degrees, that are very active in the fire service, and sometimes not even at the career level. At the volunteer level, and there still is an opportunity for those folks to, maybe take that expertise that they have from developing strategic plans for a factory that they run in the thumb, or some of those areas. So there's criteria to get there.
Motion support is on the floor. Any further questions, discussion? Hearing none. Andrea, roll call, please.
Okay. Chad Tackett,
Yes.
Brian Bloomstrom,
Yes.
Alan Stiles,
Yes, ma'am.
Lene White,
Yes.
Terry Blackmer,
Yes.
Greg Janik,
Yes.
Jacob Steichen,
Yes.
Eileen Pettinger,
Yes.
Kevin Sellmeyer.
I'll abstain.
And just remember, I'm sorry, Andrea, go ahead. I don't let you finish.
8 yeses and 1 abstention.
Thank you. Just remember, this is just kind of getting the ball rolling. We can always make adjustments and amendments as needed. So if there's any hesitations or something that we see later on, we can always make those adjustments. So.
Chairman Tackett, just to address the the issue of who's going to be teaching these fire officer 3 courses, I'd like to bring a motion forward.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve Bureau of Fire Services staff to develop an application process for Fire Officer 3 instructors. That'll include the 2 of the following. Prerequisite certifications using a combination of knowledge, skills, and abilities in a point system to qualify as a Fire Officer 3 instructor. Secondly, qualifying instructors must complete Fire Officer 3 train the trainer prior to teaching the NFPA 1021 Fire Officer 3 course.
And Jacob, I'm sorry, I'll wait for support.
Second.
Motion is support. Jacob, just for clarification, can you reread the motion just so I can write it down again?
Yeah, so like the whole point, I guess, is we have this new course and we don't know who's going to be teaching it. So my motion, I'll read it in its entirety, to approve the BFS staff to develop an application process for the Fire Officer 3 instructors. That'll include the following. First, prerequisite certifications using combination of knowledge, skills, abilities, and a point system like the fire marshal had discussed earlier. That would just qualify them to teach the course. And then also that the qualifying instructors must complete a Fire Officer 3 train the trainer prior to being able to teach that Fire Officer 3 class.
Okay, motion support. Any further discussion, questions, clarifications?
I guess, Chad, just a question. Do we need that motion for the Bureau to develop that? I mean, isn't that what we just went over a few minutes ago?
Yeah, I think this is just more, I guess, a formality of letting them set the policy basically on what they're going to look for. I think that's basically what it boils down to, Terry, but.
Yeah, can I provide some clarification?
Absolutely, yep.
So, under Public Act 291, it clearly shares that the Bureau of Fire Service can develop the policies and procedures. What we really need this motion for is to realize that it's going to fall outside of I'm an instructor too, and I've taken it, there's a process that you go through to get vetted to be an instructor, right? That is based on a point system. There again, you can see it. You can see what, very clearly when you send it in, you'll know if you can provide the substantiation to it, you've got the points that are needed to get involved in this. But also the fact that this then speaks to a train the trainer, because in the new rule set, it speaks to train the trainers. So if you take sole proprietor courses, the McNeil, the VFIS, the National Fallen Firefighter Foundation, you take those courses and stuff, that's their actual curriculum. While this is the Bureau, or it's actually the Michigan Firefighter Training Council curriculum, this is actually the, that there is a train the trainer that's involved. So you have to make application to be an instructor, and then you have to take the train the trainer. And all we're really trying to do here is just to get it so that it's consistent, that people understand that they've got to use the J&B platform to teach it off of, that they realize that, that there's a format they have to follow, that how many times they have to interact with the student as far as Zoom meetings, that type of stuff. And then ultimately, out of fairness to every student who's going to get into this course, we need to have folks who are qualified to coach and mentor them through the process of doing this project so that they meet the JPRs so they can take the test and get the certification.
Any further discussion, questions? Hearing none. Andrea, roll call, please.
Chad Tackett,
Yes.
Brian Bloomstrom,
Yes.
Alan Stiles, Lene White,
Yes.
Terry Blackmer,
Yes.
Greg Janik,
Yes.
and Jacob Seichin. You're on mute.
Yes.
Eileen Pettinger,
Yes.
Kevin Sellmeyer.
I'm going to abstain.
All right, we've got 8 yeses, 1 abstention.
Thank you. All of us have done it at least once, Jake. I think that was all for Fire Officer 3, am I correct?
Yeah, it is. Thank you. And we'll continue to work hard to put this together. And I guarantee you by the next meeting, we'll have a whole lot more available. And thank you to the training council members for, working and talking with me the last week or so that we could, just so that you're in the know of kind of where we're trying to go with this. And we look forward to rolling this product out for the fire service. And this is probably the class that's in the most demand right now. And we have some departments within the state that, it's in promotional processes and bargain language and stuff are so in contracts. So we need to get this moving sooner than later. And I know that the RTCs will play a part in this also, but also that it will be easy to deliver using this format statewide virtually. It won't matter where you live. You'll be able to participate in this course.
Thank you, Kevin. NIMS 100 and 200. And Kevin, this one has your name on it as well, but I think that's
Chad, I'm going to actually withdraw that. I had somebody reach out to me and I did a little further follow-up, but I told Andrea I wanted it. I didn't want 2.5 months to have to pass. Does that make sense? So literally I got a phone call and it was literally the day that the agenda was being set. I said, Andrea, hold it for me, please. So I'd like to withdraw that.
We can withdraw that. Q course applications. Did everybody have time to read through the ones received in the packet? There's not a lot there's a couple that we can group together, but there's 8 of them, I think, if I remember correctly. We can either go one by one or we can group them together. It's kind of at the pleasure of the council. So I guess without further discussion, we'll just start with number 1, Insight Fire Training Tactical Thermal Imaging. Jacob. Questions, concerns on this Q course application? I'm bringing mine up right now just to make sure. Look at my notes. Pleasure of the council.
I'll make a motion to approve FMQ 21-001. Station.
Motion.
I'll second.
it.
I don't know which one got that one.
Go ahead, Eileen.
Go ahead, Lene.
I'll second.
Okay.
All right, motion support. Any further discussion, questions? Andrea, roll call, please. And you are unmuted.
I see that. I made sure I was unmuted this time. Chad Tackett,
Yes.
Brian Bloomstrom,
Yes.
Ellen Stiles, Lene White,
Yes.
Terry Blackmer.
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Greg Janik,
Yes.
Jacob Seichin,
Yes.
Eileen Pettinger,
Yes.
Kevin Sellmeyer.
Yes.
All right, we've got 8 yeses.
Thank you. Number 2, peer support. Bring your team to the next level. And loss of control suicide. We'll do 2 and 3 together. They're both from To the Rescue. And is the FMQ 002, is that haven't we had that one before, Kevin, as a Q course?
That's a good question, Chad. I don't have that Q course catalog memorized.
I know, it's so big.
You know, we're staying within that. I see Dan shaking his head no.
Okay.
So, you know, it still falls within that classification because that goes in the mental health and the behavioral health, but we'll make sure that and Dan's shaking his head no. So.
And it's not a big deal if it was. I just it seems like
Yeah.
my memory isn't as good as what it ever used to be either. So
I'll make a motion to approve FMQ 21-002 and FMQ 21-003 Q courses.
motion on the floor by Lene.
Second it.
Support Arlene. Thank you. Any further discussion?
Is it a requirement they have an NFPA standard linked to that or no? Because neither one do. However, it's a very important topic, so I don't know how we want to. I
mean, I think the one that you can use is 1500, right? I mean, that's the blanket one. And
yeah,
you know, a lot of times we get those listed. You know, the To the Rescue courses that are already approved probably are some of the most active courses. And in having discussion with Terry and Mike recently about this, these 2 classes are based off of what people are asking them for the classes they've already been delivering. So they're just taking it to the next level, if you want to say. And remember that their initial class, that's where a lot of times folks bring their spouses. So it's not just for the member, it's for their family. So they're just trying to expand off of that.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, Andrew, roll call, please.
Okay, Chad Tackett,
Yes.
Brian Bloomstrom,
yes,
Ellen Stiles, Lene White,
Yes.
Terry Blackmer,
Yes.
Greg Janik,
Yes.
Jacob Steichen,
Yes.
Eileen Pittenger,
Yes.
Kevin Sellmeyer.
Yes, ma'am.
And then Brian, the last 4 or 5 are yours for the next half hour. Hopefully you guys can get them done in the next 30 minutes. So everybody, thank you for your time. Look forward to the time we can see everybody in person. So take care.
all right.
Thanks, Chad.
Okay, moving on, we're looking at Q course application Q21-004.
Brian, I'd like to make a motion to approve Q course FMQ 21004.
Second, Steichen.
A motion by Janik, second by Steichen to approve 004. Discussion. Hearing no discussion, approval for 21-004. Roll call, Andrea.
Okay, I have Chad Tackett, Brian Bloomstrom,
Yes.
Ellen Stiles, Lene White,
Yes.
Terry Blackmer,
Yes.
Greg Janik,
Yes.
Jacob Steichen,
Yes.
Eileen Pittenger,
Yes.
Kevin Sellmeyer.
Yes.
I've got 7.
And motion passes. Moving on to Q21-005, application for operations awareness rope rescue. Question for Kevin, isn't this already in the system as a K course? As a MUSA?
Well, there was a K course that was approved. I think what they're doing is they're coming back now and they're saying they want it to be a Q course. So they made a lot of changes. They continue to update stuff over there. So that's the MUSAR one, right?
Correct.
You got to remember the K courses were stuff that was approved, and that was kind of that collaboration with MUSAR and MSP long before I was the fire marshal. But that was where they kind of went down that road of the K classes. But then you've had a lot of other people who have entered into the Q course business side of it that also do rope rescue and stuff. And I think MUSAR is also looking at that and saying, hey, we updated our curriculum and we are seeking now to be a Q course.
I was just, in looking at it, I thought maybe they would be better off applying to update the course code and say this is the new course that goes with that versus have a new Q course put in the system.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know, I think it's Dave Van Holstein is the person who's on the forum. I don't know if he's on the call today. I have not spoken with David. But I will say this, I've talked with some of the other folks from USAR over the last few months, just in general. And, they told me they were updating stuff and they were bringing it forward. And so, and I don't, how much did it change from that K curriculum to what they're proposing here? I don't know. As in maybe they're teaching extra stuff. I'm not sure.
Okay. Q 21-005 is on the floor. If anybody wants to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve FMQ 21-005.
I'll support that.
Motion by White, second by Blackmer for approval of 21-005. Discussion on the motion. Hearing no discussion, vote will be to approve 21-005. Roll call, please, Andrea.
Okay. Chad Tackett, Brian Bloomstrom,
Yes.
Alan Stiles, Lene White,
Yes.
Jerry Blackmer,
Yes.
Greg Janik,
Yes.
and Jacob Steichen,
Yes.
Eileen Pettinger,
Yes.
Kevin Solmeyer.
Yes.
All right, we got 7.
The motion passes. Next on the floor, FMQ 21-006, human performance for tactical athletes.
I'll make a motion to approve 21-006.
I'll second it, Greg.
Motion by Steichen, second by Janik to approve Q course 21-006. Any discussion?
For the chair from Steichen, I was just curious if Mr. Mickles or anybody from the Detroit Fire Department can speak on behalf of this course. It's very intriguing just reading through the course description. So I was just curious of what they got going on with this. It seems pretty
Lieutenant
cool.
Mickles is in staff and command, but he took the class last year and he raved about it. So it's kind of customized. Of course, kind of teaches you to customize your training for the individual.
Okay.
And so it helped him to create workout plans for the current academy class that we have in quarters now. So I've seen him he's using all of that right now to help develop a exercise program for new employees, but better yet for a seasoned employees.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, it sounds cool, and hopefully you can give us some feedback later on down the road on it.
You can come to the first class here.
All right.
Hey, Brian.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Brian.
Yes.
So Jake, piggyback off of yours, the city of Grand Rapids actually almost a year ago brought them in and ran a whole bunch of people through it. And I think that's where Mr. Mickles actually took the class with the Grand Rapids Fire Department. But these are some folks that are Navy SEALs and professional athletes and different folks. And they're customizing this program with the idea that, you don't have to have a ton of equipment. You use what you have, but they break it down. It's a 3-day process and nutrition. And it hit kind of in the middle of COVID. I actually was invited by GR to participate, and I wish I had. But everybody I talked to, and Alfie, I joke about, you said the more senior people, the more senior people I talked to at GRFD said the same thing, that it allows you to look at it. So I agree with you, Jake. I'm excited to see this get approved in the state and as a Q course, because I think you're going to see more of it and see great results with it.
Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none. Motion on the floor is to approve FMQ 21006. Roll call, please, Andrea.
Chad Tackett, Brian Bloomstrom,
Yes.
Ellen Stiles, Lene White,
Yes.
Jerry Blackmer,
Yes.
Greg Janik,
Yes.
Jacob Steichen,
Yes.
Eileen Pettinger,
Yes.
Kevin Sellmeyer.
Yes.
All right. Passes with 7.
Motion passes. Next on the list, Surface Ice Rescue Training Q21-007.
So you might be able to combine 7 and 8. Maybe.
Okay, if anybody wants to make the motion to combine 7 and 8, the chair will entertain that as well.
I'll make the motion to combine FMQ 21-007-008.
I'll second that. Steichen.
Okay. Yeah, motion on the floor is to approve 21-007 and 008 together. Motion by Janik, second by Steichen. Any discussion?
I do have a question on 008. This is going to be held at fire departments within Michigan. Because I was just reading, it says class price is $4,300. Price includes all hand tools and equipment used in class, travel, and lodging expenses. We don't pay for that, do we? The lodging and, or the fireworks, that can't be taken out of the fireworks fund, right? Travel and lodging.
We pay a flat fee, and on a Q course, they're contracting with. So that's the difference between a Q course. So, even within, if somebody was teaching a fire officer one course and it was state funded, if they had made an arrangement with the county training chairperson that, I'm going to come up and do it for X amount, and they use that towards lodging, it's a flat rate. It's not specifically in a line item that comes back to lodging. And potentially when you have people coming from out of state, it's kind of hard not to lodge. So a lot of them won't put it in their Q course. They'll just say it's X amount for a Q course, because then the lodging and stuff is on them. It's not on, you know what I mean? It's not like they turn in the receipts to us and we reimburse them.
Right. I just wanted clarification on if that is paid for or not.
Yeah. It's not, hey, this is so much for a class, and then beyond that, put in your receipts and then we'll reimburse you for your travel. It's paid out in a lump sum on a Q course to the instructors, or to the instructor of record. It's not to even the instructors, because Each Q course is individually owned. As you're seeing names come through as
Right.
their course.
Yep. Okay.
Any other discussion for Q course 007 and 008? Okay, hearing none, we'll do roll call. Andrea?
Okay. Chad Tackett, Bram Bloomstrom,
Yes.
Alan Stiles, Lene White,
Yes.
Jerry Blackmer,
Yes.
Greg Janik,
Yes.
Jacob Seichin,
Yes.
Eileen Pettinger,
Yes.
Kevin Saltmeyer.
Yes.
All right, passes with 7.
All right.
For the chair, I know we don't have any, recorded new business to dive into anymore, but with the fire marshal's report and him highlighting that there's 5 behavioral health units that have yet to announce a fiduciary, and it appears that they might not be encumbering that money. I just wanted to bring it up kind of just for a discussion topic, whether or not we should give further guidance for the Bureau going forward. If there's going to be a bunch of money returned, if the 5 units continue to not participate going forward, are we still going to follow the motion and guidance of delivering 27 units to the same allocation? So it's going to, as the year goes on, it's going to kind of get messy, and in an effort to try to spend all the fireworks money,
How they do this morning?
I think it would be worthwhile kind of discussing that amongst the council.
It wasn't brought up for an addendum at the beginning of the meeting to do that, and obviously wasn't put in two weeks in advance to make a motion to go forward to make any changes to that motion. I could open the floor for discussion, but I could not entertain a motion to go forward since it was not put on the agenda.
I hear you on that. Yeah, and the only reason I would never fathom that one of these units for training dollars wouldn't participate in the communication and figure out a fiduciary to collect this money. I mean, we're talking about thousands of dollars that could be brought to these areas of the state, and for a multi-county unit to not participate in the communication and ensure that money is getting delivered to them, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around.
I can look up the memo, but it may be faster to ask the fire marshal. It was supposed to be noted as of the 30th of January. Was there anything in there as to what would occur after the 30th if there was no communication?
Well, I can't award money to somebody that doesn't step up, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what we've done is all but 5, we've actually sent them their money. Okay. Does that make sense? Those 5 will still let them get their money. They just have to tell us who. The encumber date, though, in March, they have to meet that date. They have to encumber those funds. If they don't encumber those funds come back, and that could be from any of the districts even that are participating. Okay, so you have to encumber it. I think, Jake, I like where you're going with your question. I think, though, that I would ask that let's see how this shakes out. Let's see who encumbers what. We have a meeting the second Tuesday in April. And at that point, I would ask, let's have Andrea put it on the agenda, because that's a good discussion to have in April. Because if you think about it, we're in the 4th month. We're 6 months away from the end of September, right? And we may have to make some decisions. I think where Jake's going with that is that if a county doesn't participate or a group doesn't participate, or they say, hey, we took the $5,000, we spent that, but we don't have any other needs, then we will need to talk about that, because we should then give it to the counties who want to spend the money, if that makes sense. And also, I will share this. I've had some questions where people reached out to me and said, I really don't want to spend it on mental health and behavioral health, but I want to spend it on another class. And my answer has been no. The motion is very clear. So I think that I will say this, there are some areas out there that are doing a lot in the way of mental health. And I think how we redisperse that, I think that'd be a great topic for April. But I agree, Brian, that, you're right. It isn't on the agenda. Jake, I appreciate you bringing it up. But let's put that on the agenda for April, and we'll come back and we'll have a good idea. We'll know where we're at. We'll also know how much money we have at that point too.
Good enough, Jake?
Yeah. Thank you for going into that. But I think for those that are attending the meeting, I think, just discussing like we just have might help out.
Okay. All right. Moving on, next on the agenda is public comment. Does anybody have any public comment for the council and for those in the room? I have Dave and Mike. So I saw Dave's hand jump up. So I'll start with Dave and then I'll move over to Mike.
A quick stupid question, and I might have missed it, but did the curriculum committee review or make any recommendations on any of the suggestions as far as the Fire Officer 3 stuff goes?
That's me or the fire marshal?
Who, I'm just asking the question. I don't know whoever.
Curriculum committee would be handling the exam. So the exam has not obviously come forth yet. Once that does, curriculum committee will vet the exam. The building of the class is up to the fire marshal and the staff.
All right, thanks. Just want to head off questions that I know are going to pop up at some point. Awesome, thank you.
Mike.
Yes, I know you touched on it briefly. Jacob mentioned the money for the emotional support. And I know you said you're going to talk about it in April, but we've, looked at that, and there's very few classes available that are out there. I mean, we do have some. We have To the Rescue scheduled. But we have, in Lansing area, we have a capital area peer support, which, we reach out through Delta, into Eaton County, pretty much all over. And we've actually been requested to go and help in Flint, Bay City, when they've had issues. They've actually contacted us. And I guess my question is, with some of these programs, the Capital Area Peer Support Group, we could really use some extra money for flyers and stuff like that. We've kind of been depending on some of the union groups to help fund some of that. And, we've talked about a challenge coin to kind of, hey, that challenge, everybody likes getting challenge coins, and just kind of, thanks, you've helped out, or hey, you've had a rough time, just things like that. And if some of this money could be able to use for printing purposes or whatever, it would, I think, benefit us in the long run. So I just wanted to bring that as a possibility, maybe something to discuss in April. I don't know how everybody feels about it, but that's just, we wanted to, as I'm the vice president of the Capital Area Peer Support Group, we wanted to mention that to the council. Thank you.
Okay. Other public comment.
Hey, Brian, it's Sean Abbey.
Go ahead.
I had my little virtual hand up, but I guess it didn't show up.
No, I did not see it.
All right, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for voting to give us the fireworks money again for the Fire Expo in 2022. Appreciate your support, and hopefully we're able to do a great job next year and get through all this junk we're all dealing with and have a great event next year. So thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else for public comment? Okay. Going once, twice. Okay. Hearing nothing else, we'll move on to council comment. Start with Councilperson Janik.
A big thanks to the over 60 participants that are on the Zoom meeting. A lot of dedication and commitment to training and to Michigan in general. So my thanks is to them today. Thank you.
Okay. Councilperson White.
I ditto what Chief Janik said, and maybe from what is that Chief Yance, what he said, maybe that is a discussion point in April to tie on to what Councilperson Steichen said. If fees are returned, maybe we could look at something like that. But I really appreciate everybody on here and bringing up questions like that and different stuff for us to look at, because it gets our minds thinking, and we're all in this together. We are all one for the fire departments and firefighters here in the state of Michigan. So thank you.
Okay. Councilperson Blackmer.
It was a good meeting. I don't have a lot to share. I was, Mr. Jacob said, I'm surprised to hear that the funds weren't used for the behavioral health, maybe as much as we expected that they would be. In fact, I have a class that I'm taking tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, just to take another one and to see how I can continue to help people, colleagues and people that I work with different situations. So I think that's important. We can continue to move ahead with that message and do what we can, and hopefully the money gets encumbered and people will go ahead and use it for what it was designed for. Other than that, it was a good meeting. Good to see everyone. It'd be good to look ahead when we can finally get back and have actual meetings, in-person meetings again. So you guys have a good day.
All right, thank you. Councilperson Steichen.
All right. I'm starting to get used to the platform, but I didn't mind driving down and seeing everybody in Lansing. It's kind of weird that now we're more accustomed to meeting virtually, and hopefully we can get back to meeting together in person and doing the same business. I did want to touch on the behavioral health stuff. The point of contacts are obviously the CTCs. So if you're in attendance today, make sure you contact your CTC and make sure they're doing their due diligence and communicating with those in the behavioral health units. And if anybody out there, the 58 participants, if you have a question or need some help, or want to make sure that all the ducks are in a row to get the fireworks funds and to get the behavioral health training in your area, just reach out to one of us. All of our contact information is on the Bureau's website, and I have my phone on me all day, every day. So email, phone, text, I'm going to answer and make sure that we can help you out and get this training to you. But appreciate everybody's attention and participation in this 2-hour meeting. Thanks.
Okay. Councilperson Pettinger.
Thanks for everybody for sticking through with these meetings. I know they can get long on Zoom. And I wanted to say welcome to our new regional coordinator, Robert Stokes. And I want to say thank you to Fire Marshal and our other regional coordinator, Dan Hammerberg, for all the work they put in that Fire Officer 3 class. I know they put a lot of time and effort, and I think it's going to be a great program. And it's encouraging to see all the fire departments. I know we still have five areas that haven't taken advantage, but we still have 22 other regions that have taken advantage of the behavioral health, and hopefully we can get those other 5 to jump on the bandwagon. I think it's going to be a great program for everyone. Thanks.
Okay. Fire Marshal.
Hey, thanks, Brian. Thank you to all of you for your, taking the time to take calls. We are trying to build this out the best that we can. I also would like to say thank you. There's a lot of folks that I see on the call that have reached out to me in the last 12 days since I had my shoulder surgery done, and I appreciate you checking in on me. I'm excited to be back to work. I'm going to tell you that. And my shoulder feels fantastic. Although they say another couple of weeks when rehab starts, look out, right? So, but for right now, it doesn't hurt. That's a good thing. And, One of the things that I would like to share is that, when you look at, we say we got 5 counties that don't participate, and talking with Dan Hammerberg and Robert last night, it might not surprise you that the same pockets that we designed for mental health are the same counties who we can't give the 17.5 to. So there's going to be a few in there. Okay. With that being said, I also will share this, that mental health is real. You look across the board at all the organizations. We're all affiliated with different organizations we belong to nationally, from the National Volunteer Fire Council Share the Load program, right, to the IFF peer class, which I know many of you are participating in that in the next 3 days, which is fantastic. I think we just need to do a better job for the folks who are involved in the mental health stuff of reaching out to some of these training coordinators and explaining to them that, it might be in our best interest to even make friends with the next people over. And so if we take our 5,000, their 5,000, and I don't know, we do 2 peer classes. I don't know what the peer class costs, but I know it's not cheap. But the idea here is to expand it. And then I also would ask, Chief Yance, first off, thank you for giving me a place to do my Wednesday wrap up the other day at his station. He opened up his big training room and let me in there. So I had a place. I was in transit. So thank you. I appreciate your help with that. I also would share this, that if the capital area peer group has some wants, and I think you're going to see more money is going to get redistributed. I really do. I think money is going to continue to come in. Then bring some stuff ahead as Q courses. So if there's somebody out there that you really want to hear speak, then, then put in a Q course to bring in, you name the person. Because here's the beauty of a Q course. Once it's approved, then it's on the list indefinitely, and then other counties can piggyback off of that. And I think that's where we're at right now. I've had a few counties say to me, Marshall, there's not a lot to choose from there. And I then share with them, well, you can expand that group. And that's what we need. We need them to do. But it's them coming forward with the Q courses to stuff you want. So that minimally we can, because that's the ongoing part, right? Especially, hey, once you get everybody trained, how do you stay trained, right? And so that was some of the things that I would like people to look at too, is so there is the ability to, every training council meeting, we can expand that list and all of those mental health classes. And I also would challenge you, if you have any questions on anything that's in the Q course catalog and you're really not sure after reading the description, give me a call, because there's some sort of sleepers in there that I don't think have been used a whole lot here in the state, but they're really good classes. And I think you'd find that it'd be a huge benefit to your area. And the fail-safe one, that's sort of the cheap one, even the 4-hour stress first aid class, we got another number of advocates here in the state of Michigan that have been trained by the National Fallen Firefighter Foundation that could come out and present that class. And I had somebody say, well, what do I do with the money? I said, if you got 10 fire stations and the course costs $200, kind of do the math on that one. You could divide it up and just schedule 10 nights. So there's a stress first aid class at every fire station for the next 6-7 months, right? As you move around, there's definitely people out there that can provide those. And at least it gives you a foundation while you're looking to maybe bigger scheme things that you want to do. So thank you, everybody, for your hard work. And I don't know about you, but I'm ready for spring and this whole COVID thing. And I agree with Jake. Boy, look out when we all get in one room together, right? At some point. So looking forward to that, being able to do that safely. Thank you.
All right. And in conclusion, I just want to thank everybody that was able to be on the Zoom meeting for this. It's great to see the high numbers showing that people are involved and want to hear about the things that are going on in the fire service. So I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come and listen to a council meeting and be updated as to the different happenings. I'm very excited about the Fire Officer 3 curriculum coming out. I like the idea of taking it to the next level and making it more of a JPR based type class. I also like the idea of getting more people involved with a course of that type of magnitude. We have over 20 regional coordinators that are out there doing the job of watching firefighter 1 and 2 classes and and teaching some instructor orientations, but this gives the opportunity for additional people in the fire service that might not have the time to do that regional coordinator job to say, you know, I have a little bit of time to review papers and look at people's projects. And it might open the door for more people in the fire service to get involved at that level, to do a little bit, to give back a little bit as something that interests them versus having to go and having quite, you know, having all their time every other weekend or so looking at firefighter classes and things like that. So it's a little different. It's some more opportunities for people in the fire service, and I'm looking forward to see that curriculum and the people that are involved moving forward and see the positives that come from that. Did I miss any council members? Okay. That'll conclude council comment. We'll move on to adjournment. Andrea, roll call, please.
It needs to be a motion.
We have a motion to approve the closing of the meeting.
A second.
Motion on the floor by Janik, second by White to adjourn the meeting. Now we can do a roll call.
Okay. Chad Tackett, Brian Bloomstrom,
Yes.
Alan Stiles, Lene White,
Yes.
Terry Blackmer,
Yes.
Greg Janik,
Yes.
Jacob Steichen,
Yes.
Eileen Pettinger,
Yes.
Kevin Selmeyer.
Yes, ma'am.
Got 7.
All right. Hearing that, the meeting is adjourned. Everybody have a good afternoon. Stay warm.
See you, everybody. Take care.
See you later. Bye.
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 Aye.
Bye.